Wendy with a pen, digging through the dark where the secrets been. Questions fly like bullets, truth cuts deep in the shadows where nightmares creep. Watch them break it down, unveil the lies, under lurid skies where the danger hides. With fire in their veins and mistrust in their eyes, Randy and Wendy taking you for a ride. Clues left scattered like whispers in the wind. Every page they turn closer to the end. No stone unturned, no mystery safe. Through the chaos they pave the way. Watch them break it down, unveil the lies, under lurid skies where the danger hides. With fire in their veins and distrust in their eyes, Randy and Wendy taking you for a ride. Clues left scattered like whispers in the wind. Every page they turn closer to the end. No stone unturned, no mystery safe. Through the chaos they pave the way. Watch them break it down, unveil the lies, under lurid skies where the danger hides. With fire in their veins and distrust in their eyes, Randy and Wendy taking you for a ride. Late nights burn bright under the moon. Answers buried deep, they'll find them soon. Guts and glory on a darkened stage. Randy and Wendy script the final page.
No. Yeah. Yeah, I think we got to figure out a better way here because this method's not going to work for me. I need to see the video and then I can respond to it.
Okay.
So
What?
I don't know why. I'm going to have to go into, which I can't do it right now on the fly. I'm going to have to go into Google and see how I can get this link.
Well, we have an
through
idea.
The SteamYard that you have. I know
We-
that one other
probably can't hear me.
podcast that I do requires that too, and I always had a problem with it. So I right now I can't troubleshoot it. I don't have the time to troubleshoot it. Why don't I work on that this afternoon and then we'll reschedule? And I promise you I'll get you in here. I just can't. I've got
Well, do you want to
a fraud
try
thing going
our
on with
idea?
my credit card, so I had to
Okay.
take
No.
that.
Okay. We can definitely, let me try to add Wendy to this meet. We are live, but it doesn't matter. Let me see. How do I do that? Because we came up, I understand what you're saying, and like I said, we can certainly reschedule there, but we did come up with I don't know, like a little.
Just tell her we came up with a plan. Don't try to add me, Randy. Just tell her we came
Okay,
up
we
with a
came up
plan.
with a plan where we can give you the timestamp and you can watch the video and just react off your phone.
Yeah,
If you
and
wanted
we'll
to
watch it
just
here
go ahead
live
and
on
get
our
it
end.
over with.
Sure. You want to send it to me right now? What exactly what time stamp it is?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The first
And
timestamp
just
is
send it to Susan at susanconstantine.com.
Okay. Okay. So just mail. You don't want me to send it on your phone? I can.
Or you can send it on my phone too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be easier probably. Then you can
I've
just
got
click
my
it.
phone. I could have gotten my email from here too. So that's
Either way.
Doesn't
okay.
Okay. All right. So let me introduce everybody in chat to. This is Susan Constantine. I don't know. Some people know her, I'm sure, and others may not. I've got all her credentials and everything that she's done in the about section and the links to her books. And thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate that, Melissa. And we just had technical difficulties, so that's why we're on a Google Meet. Because when you're using a Mac, StreamYard just doesn't pop up easy. You have to use Chrome and all that stuff. So, and I hate you can't. I'm sure Susan, you can't hear Wendy. So what, Wendy? What's the timestamp?
The first timestamp we're looking at is 2908.
Got to send it to me via on my phone. I haven't received it
Okay,
yet.
here's the video, Susan. And what was the timestamp, Wendy?
2908.
I'm sorry, this is a disaster.
Mm-mm.
2908.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. We can make this work. 2908.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we'll watch it on our end. We'll probably just go a few minutes. I mean, unless she has something to say
I
about
like
it.
to start
When
them just prior so that I get an idea of what the context is. Okay.
Sure. That's fine.
Okay.
We should probably show it, Randy. Show it on my end so our people can watch it as well. And then when she has something she wants to say about it, you just add her back. Okay?
That's what I
Where I
did.
couldn't see the road and I shouldn't have been driving, like I was swerving.
Kind of give you a little baseline here. So when you're analyzing these types of videos, you have to have some context of what's actually occurring there. So I like to back up a good 10 seconds before because I want to see what the lead in is in here, and then seeing how she's responding to the questions that are asked her. So she's talking about here that she did an interview, right? So what we're seeing is that she's got very close posture. Her legs are held very tight, close to her body. Her arms are folded neatly in front of her. She's kind of slouched inside of her couch, and she doesn't move a lot. So when I'm looking at body language, this is behavioral analysis, is I'm coding what I'm seeing. So this falls under B, what we call body tension. And what body tension is when you hold your body close to you. You clench your fist, you clench your hands, you cross your legs. So your body is very tense in one position. It doesn't move. You don't see any illustrators as she's talking. So what I'm noting is there's no movement. So that falls underneath one of the body ones, which is lack of illustrators. So when you're looking at lack of illustrators, most people, when they're communicating, will use their hand gestures as they're telling you the story. So they don't always words have to meet exactly with the motion, but the fact that she's talking about something that's important, naturally, most people will move their hands when they're talking. The fact that she's holding herself very still is creating even more anxiety within her body, because when you contain energy, when you contain stress, what happens, right? You become, eventually what happens is it kind of spills out, right? The steam kind of spills out. Then we start to see what we call deceptive behaviors or indicators, and that's what I'm looking at here. Overall, what I have noted, and I'll just kind of give you some heads up, is because I have watched these videos at length, is her root emotion is fear. So we see those big wide eyes. We see her mouth dropped. We'll see her eyes blink a lot. We'll see her kind of stammering from side to side in some of her other interviews. Those are what we call that's not a baseline, but it gives me somewhat of a baseline to compare things to. That's all I'm saying. That's not necessarily her baseline, but it's something to compare this video to. So there's a stark contrast. The question is why? Her underlying emotion is fear. What do you do when you're fearful? You become frozen.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing here.
And small, which is why she's holding her body close to herself.
Right. So she's trying, yeah. Okay. What Wendy is saying, so she's, kind of making herself small, or she's feeling small.
Right. Well, she's feeling small. She's containing a lot of her emotions. This is what we call tension. So when you try to control the environment, when you don't feel comfortable, you don't feel safe, you feel vulnerable, you feel like you're being attacked, what do? You go into this like fetal position, guardedness, protectiveness. Yes. That's where the tension is built up in the body. So has more of that, even though it seems like it's she's self-protecting, is also not moving. And because it's not moving, that falls under body language under tension. Lack of illustrators movement when she's using her hand gestures, that's also another indicator. When I'm stating indicators, I'm talking about there are 29 proven indicators assigned to deception. So that's what I'm measuring everything by. So I know what the indicators are, and each channel within their communication, which is their body, their voice, their face, their interactional style, that whether they to a lie detector test, the content of what she's saying, the words, the statements, all of that. When we take those 6 channels, there are 29 specific, only linked to deception. Okay. And those are what we call pins, points of interest. So when I'm looking at her behavior, I am using the only validated empirical studies on validated science that's been vetted in the field in behavioral sciences linked to deception. So that's what I'm looking at when I look at video. I look at videos a little bit different than most body language experts do, because they tend to use the example, well, she scratches her nose and she shifts, and therefore it means that. It means nothing. It is really bad pseudoscience. So I don't use that. I use a more of a behavioral science vetted in the field, validated science. So that's what I'm seeing here. That's a long-winded answer to giving explanation of what I'm actually seeing there, because it's important to know the background before we start hypothesizing about somebody, until we know the context and we have a system in which we are using to analyze and code behavior. And so that's what I'm seeing with her here.
Okay.
Okay.
And so this video, just I don't know, you probably already know this. This is before, no, this is after she's found out about the abuse, but before that Maddie was found passed away.
Right.
So let's
So
see the next.
At the timestamp that I'm going to show right now, Randy, if you want to bring me in, the timestamp that I want to show
think
now.
what would be good for your viewers to see is where she starts to support Stephen Stearns in the sexual allegations. I think that is really important for your viewers to see, because if you want to show that clip, I can, and you know the timestamp, I'll zip to it real fast.
Well, we've watched this
Or I can
entire
just speak
interview.
to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've watched
But
this entire interview. Our viewers have seen this entire interview.
I don't think she can hear you, Wendy.
Okay, well, you're
No.
gonna have to help me then, please.
Yeah. Yeah, they've watched the entire interview with us.
So-
We watched it one day.
Right. And what I'd like to get is her take on timestamp 3613.
Okay. And so, okay, here's the next timestamp. And this, I don't know, this could be it. We're doing peaks, right, Wendy?
Yeah, just peaks. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's
Or
going to
just,
be a peak.
I found her posture here. If you want to pull me in, Randy.
You are in. You are in. I don't know why y'all can't hear each other.
No, pull my video in, honey.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Look at her posture. Hands behind her head, legs crossed. I just wanted to get her take, because she goes into this position. We'll bop it back a little and hear what she has to say. Tell her to go to 3538.
Okay. She's listening to it now, I think.
3538?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think
No,
she is.
3613.
That's why I asked you can you please have her go to 3538? Well, she said she wants to, maybe she has already done that. She said she likes to bop it back and see. So, but let's look at her body position and hear what they're talking about.
The lies he's done to his parents. But
601, because I always like to pull it up beforehand. You'll see that her body language has changed, right? So what does she do? She puts her hands behind her head. So now she's in this, and it's really interesting because this is actually dominant control. We see a lot of that when you think about somebody that's sitting at a boardroom desk and they're saying, well, this, they stretch their legs out and this is more this dominant position. But I think that what's happening here, because when you look at the other part of her body, it's really more of what we call a manipulator. A manipulator is really a self-soothing gesture. So her hands behind her head is one to self-soothe. Is when you're under a lot of pressure, what do? You rub your arms, you rub your hands together, you might adjust your clothing. In this case, behind her head is this is a manipulator. This is a self-soother. So why do people do that? They do that because they're starting to feel a lot of anxiousness and anxiety. So I'm going to continue to play it.
And during COVID, he wanted RC cars. If he wants something, he's going to get it.
And then now when we hear about the SIM cards, we notice a difference in her tonality of her voice, right? Before, much more quiet, more sheepish. Now what do we hear? We hear an edge to her tone, right? So now this is when you start to see in voice, and one of the indicators is where they become either soft or you hear an edge. Those are the changes that I'm looking for. It went from soft to edge. So what does that mean? Edge can be a very defense mechanism. You become more defensive. So your voice become more edgy or hardened. So let's continue.
No matter what. So
now she's saying no matter what, when he gets something, he's going to get it no matter what. What don't we notice? No hand gestures.
Right.
Okay. She still is in that rigid position, right? Even though the position has changed, her hands are behind her head. Her body frame still is in a very static position. She's not communicating to the officers with any sort of illustrators or hand gestures, because you would expect her to lean forward and think, whatever he wants, he's going to get. Right? You would expect to see that. You don't see that. That is also an indicator, because that's telling me it's the lack of illustrators when there should be an illustrator, especially when she's describing something that's that important.
He wanted RC vehicles.
Now, it was only until they're talking about the SIM card, she now takes her hands off. So when I look at that, I'm saying, okay, so what changed? Why did she change position? And then she's talking about now the SIM card, right? So when I'm thinking about the SIM card, what relevance does that SIM card have that would have caused her to change position? So I'm going to note SIM card, change in posture, change in body language. So I'm going to go back and if I were analyzing this, I'm going to code it and figure out why was there a change when it came to SIM card. It's because what you have to do is you have to tie or sync together. It's called the 327. You're looking at 3 different channels of communication in your body, face, voice, content, psychophysiology, statement analysis, voice. And you're looking for 3 indicators in 2 of those channels in 7 seconds when the question was asked. That's a stimulus. So then she shifted when it came to the SIM card. So that was a stimulus. She shifted. The question is, why is that SIM card? Why did that change her position, her movements? Why did she then now start to illustrate? And I think it's because she knows the SIM cards had something to do with it, and which we've later found out that it did. See, that's how you can uncover. This is how you can uncover people when they know information, yet they're not revealing it, but they will reveal it, even if it's incriminating, without them even knowing it. So it's kind of like their body or their voice or their language will betray them. And that's where it was. So that's why it's important. The 327. 327 is like, that's how you detect deception in any case. Okay. Now we're going to continue on.
And I'm poor. I know I can't afford it. And he's showing up at home with these things. And I asked him, where are you getting the money from? Because we don't have this money. He goes, oh my God. I said, your dad gave you money? He goes, no, I took some from his closet. And I was like, Like, they have an emergency stash? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, he's gonna notice money's missing. And he's like, no, he won't. It's so much money in there, he won't notice at all. I've confirmed with Chris later on that he did notice money, but he never asked his son. But I let him know, yeah, he was robbing you and just buying himself toys. He's also lied. Most recently, he lied to his parents about where he would be. He told them he would be at his friend's house playing video or board games or something like that, but in reality, he came all the way to Kissimmee to hang out with us.
But you guys.
So now let's kind of go back a little bit because we're talking about the money, right? So she's questioning, you know, why is there all this influx of money? Where is it coming from? She states that allegedly he's been siphoning his father's money out of his closet, that he's got tons and tons of money stashed. But at the same time, what she's not telling them is that she disagrees with it. Like, I didn't tell him. What did you do? Like, surprise, like, what? What do you mean you're taking money from your dad? You can't take money from your dad's closet. She doesn't defend it. She's now complicit in it. And then there is a point where she then changes her leg position. Now, that in itself is not just, I don't do X plus Y equals Z just because she shifted her legs from one to another. I'm going to give her a pass on that because I don't have enough information. However, when you're talking about something to the magnitude of money missing, she's creating an alibi of where that money's coming from. She's trying to create a story of why there's all this money. So that would be something, as an investigator, I'd be questioning. Well, I'd want to know, I'd want to ask follow-up questions. And that didn't surprise you? You didn't disagree with that? How long has this been going on? How much money have you seen? Tell me what he was spending that money on. Were you also was he also giving you money? And how explain, there's a lot of questions that are unanswered here. So before we make a hypothesis on this, all we know is she knows there's money. She'd admitted that this money was coming, which is theft from the son, siphoning off stuff that's inside that closet, and she is complicit.
Okay, can you ask her to hang on and pause for a second so that we can catch up to her?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. All right. So
our audience hasn't seen any of the videos that she's talking about,
yeah,
and I think they'd like to.
Okay. The people haven't seen any of the video because it's hard to share. Yeah, I can't share two things at once. So let me bring in some of this so they can see exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
Can you ask her for the timestamp that she's at right now?
I think it's frozen.
It is frozen. It's been frozen the whole time, but her audio is fine.
I can't. No, I can't hear her.
Oh,
I'm right here.
Okay, she can hear you.
Okay.
Can you ask her for the timestamp, please?
Okay. And what was that timestamp that you just talked about?
I started at 37:13, I believe.
Okay.
Played it to 37.28.
Okay.
Nice.
We're
okay,
just
we're going to cover
audience.
that right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So bring me in, Randy.
It's in.
And tell her just to give us a second till we get caught up.
Some toys. He's also lied. Most recently, he lied to his parents about where he would be. He told them he would be at his friend's house playing video or board games or something like that. But in reality, he came all the way to Kissimmee to hang out with us.
Okay.
But you guys were together Wednesday? After all the interviews, did you stay Wednesday? Would you? I know
Yes.
we had some detectives go meet you guys Wednesday, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Were you guys in the house together until detectives came?
Yes.
What kind of happened after detectives came?
There's where she crosses her legs.
Yep, there's the leg shift.
Did you notice that? There's the leg shift that she was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like everything starts to get blurry?
Oh, I get it, trust me, we've been in this
Just because-
office for like 3 days straight.
Yeah, so I just don't remember what day I had conversation with you guys.
Tuesday night, Orange County detectives came out there because I ended up coming out Tuesday night.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember seeing me or not that night.
Okay.
That was the first night we were at the apartment into the nighttime.
Yeah, is that when you guys shut down the house for forensics?
Yes.
Okay,
Tell
so,
us about that.
okay. So earlier that day, I think Detective Hunt came, or somebody came, and asked Stefan for his cell phone. If he would willingly give it up so that they can look at it, or if they would need a warrant. And I remember him saying, should I have asked a warrant? Should I have? And I'm like, no, if you got nothing to hide, give him your fucking phone. And I think we hung out in the house for a little bit, and then when you guys came in the evening, and you guys told us to wait outside, and we waited in my car, he started getting very anxious and very panicky, going, I want my phone back. I want my phone back. And I said, listen, at this point, it's their phone. It's theirs for fucking ever. I don't give a shit. We will buy you a new phone. It doesn't matter anymore. Whatever they need, they need. Like, let them look at it. And he's like, I just want my phone back. And I'm just like, are you trying to make yourself more suspicious? Because, like, if you were to go demand your phone back right now, that would look suspicious as fuck. Like, what are you doing? I'm thinking he's just getting impatient because he's bored and wants to play on his phone. And at one point, he takes my phone to start playing with it. I give it up, and I said, here.
So it doesn't even occur to her that he's hiding something on the phone. She thinks he's just bored and wants to play a game. She's so checked out of this whole thing. She thinks he's bored and wants to play a game. She doesn't even think that he could be hiding something bad.
Yeah. Do you want to bring Susan back? Can we bring Susan back to answer
Yeah, of course.
that?
Yeah, bring her back in and ask her about that.
Okay. So, you can't hear Wendy at all, though, right?
No.
Okay. I hate that. So she feels like she's just so completely checked out that, he's using his phone for games.
Yeah, that she thinks he only wants his phone back so he can play games because he's bored. It doesn't even occur to her that he wants his phone because he's hiding something.
Okay. When do you think she said, it doesn't occur to her that he wants his phone back because he's hiding something. She thinks he's bored and wants his phone back to play games. Do you think that's honest, or is she that checked out? That's one of the biggest questions,
that we have.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's one or two hypotheses. Number one is she's got to be the dumbest woman in the entire planet, that if she can deny the realities of everything.
Yeah.
I don't believe that there's that high level of naivety. I do believe that she does know that he has been involved in some very what is the word I want to say, scandalous type of
she cutting out for everybody else
throughout. So the question is, why does she always make excuses for him? So in my thinking, which I think that'll probably come out at some point in time, was she a part of it? Was she aware of it? Did she prostitute her daughter out for this relationship so that he could have these sexual encounters with her, and that's where the money flow is coming in? I don't believe that living in the same, you just look at them contextually, it makes no sense. And if it makes no sense, it doesn't make sense. Say if it quacks like a duck, it's a duck. I'm not going to make it into a cat. It is a duck. She has allowed him to sleep in the same room with this child and also encouraged it. And this is not somebody who's been a long-term boyfriend. He's been in and out of it. So in my professional opinion, based on everything that I've watched this thing over and over again, I believe she knew exactly what was going on, and she was also complicit with it. Now, when it came to the murder, that's another different story, okay? I think that she allowed him to act out in sexual ways for his pleasure, whatever weird sexual thing they got going on between them. And then he was selling those videos to up into this weird black market. And that's where the money was coming in. So the fact that she's not really harping hard onto where this money's coming from, she knows where it's coming from. Her vocal tone does not emulate to me that she's concerned, that she was worried about it. She was questioning him, and she always goes to his defense. Why? Why does she go to his defense? Now, he hasn't been physically abusive with her. A lot of times people that are women that have been physically assaulted, a lot of times they constantly take their husband or spouses back numerous times. We're not talking domestic violence. There's something sexual that's going on in this house, and I believe she knew about it. And that's why she mentioned the SIM card, that maybe he wasn't really looking, he was pacifying time to look at video games because that's what he does. That could be true, but I think it's an excuse.
Wow. Okay.
Good. Good answer.
All right.
Good. So he absolutely was selling the pictures.
Do we
I didn't
know
know
that
that.
for sure?
Yeah, that's what I think he was doing. That's where the money was coming in. There was like $600 a day or something that was coming. His own parents talked about it. Said, where is all this money coming from? The two of you never had any money. He's not working. My son's not working. And they're buying a whole bunch of stuff. Where are they getting the money from? So mom and dad Stearns was questioning Stefan of where all this money is coming from, because they knew doggone well he wasn't working.
Wow.
So if he wasn't working,
Right.
then where is the money coming from? And the only alibis you can say is to admit he's just been stealing it. He's just been stealing it from my parents. Now, how you corroborate that is, hey, mom and dad, or Mr. and Mrs. Stearns, had you noticed a bunch of money was missing? Right? Were you
Mhm.
noticing large sums of money missing every single day? Then that would make sense to maybe where he was getting the money from. But
Right.
with 35,000 photo images of Madeline, okay, he was using it to prostitute out into in fact, I think there was a website that he belonged to that the minute you put things up, it evaporates out. You can't even find it. So he had some deviant workings behind the scene that he was doing with those pictures. And I think that's where he was making the money.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is so
Wow.
disgusting. Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that either. Now I'd heard that, some people insinuate or maybe think, not insinuate. I guess they were just
Speculate.
guessing what he was doing, but
Yeah.
I didn't know they had money. I knew there was thousands of pictures, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I
I
didn't
knew
know
that there
that.
were 35,000
That makes
pictures.
me feel
I didn't
a
know he
whole
was
lot
there.
different. Go ahead,
About
Wendy. What?
mom, for sure.
Right. That's what I was going to say. I feel a lot different about Jenn Soto now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She
Okay.
wasn't so
There's,
She wasn't so checked
so
out. Go ahead.
here's the other thing, which I think that if you kind of go back into the history, let's go back to the original video when she went on air. And I'm just going to talk this through, okay, guys? Because I think I'm going to be able to give you some context of what I believed was going on. Early on, when Madeline went missing, the two of them, what did they do? They reached out to a reporter, local reporter, was Fox 35, and they did an interview with the reporter. Jenn was she was speaking, and where did we see Stephens? Stephens was in the back on the far corner, right? She's nervous, she's anxious, she's got the fear response. And that's what I'm talking about. You can see the whites above the eye, she's in this fear response. Her responses were very they were almost in sound bites. We took her to school, we dropped her off, we saw her walk to school, we saw her, she would speak in these little sound bites, which just seemed rehearsed to me. Meanwhile, in the back, you have Stefan Stearns while she's on the call. She says I don't know why she didn't make it. I don't know why she didn't make it. Right at that time, you could go back, you could see Stephen Stearns tilt his head down, rub his forehead at the exact same time. Remember, I talked about stimulus.
Mm-hmm.
Right after she said that, immediately within a half a second, he had already taken a position of shame and guilt, head down, rubbing his forehead. And I said on air, because they came here to my home and said, I want you to look at this because we think there's something really weird with her. We want to know what's going on. At that point, I said on air, Sheriff's Department, if you're watching this, you need to go after him. He is showing you suspect behavior. He's involved somehow. So when she said, I don't know what happened, I don't know why she didn't make it, remember, that was a stimulus. He didn't know. Head went into shame, and he starts rubbing, and he is like camouflaging his face. The other thing he was starting to do was crack his knuckles, right? When you're in stress, worried, you start cracking your knuckles. That's another form of tension. You're releasing tension because there's anxiety that's building up in your body. So within 4 hours, he was arrested. Not arrested for murder because we didn't know she was dead yet. We just knew that there was something weird about her.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was it that they were going to arrest him anyway? Probably. How interesting, though, after just saying, hey, you need to look at him. What are you looking at her for? You need to look at him. So there was something that occurred the night before at that birthday party that led up to the reason why she's disappeared. The reason why I know that is because when people talk about a person that's missing, they don't start at the point of they realize that she was missing. They generally go back to the place where they know that it had something to do with their missing. So it's a subconscious thing. If you were to find somebody dead in an apartment and it was a roommate, and you walked in and said, oh my God, I woke up this morning and I walked into my roommate's room and I found her dead on the floor. Now, if I had said, well, last night, the night before, we went out partying, we met a couple guys, she stayed out late. And this morning I woke up and I found her in the room and she was dead and she was bloody. Okay. Now, big difference. See the shift?
Yes.
So whatever comes out of your mouth was the beginning of the event that occurred, why the event occurred. Not that morning. Something happened the night before. So, we can only speculate. We don't know. Something had to occur at that night because remember, Jenn didn't get home. She wasn't there for the birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't get home until she was late. And everything seemed to be happy. Well, who said that? Her mother probably told her she was having a good time. What happened in that bedroom that night that led to, because she did not see her that morning. She said that she did, but when she talked about dropping her off at school, she dropped a really important pronoun. She started with we. We dropped her off at school. We dropped her off. We saw her go across the street.
Mm-hmm.
Then she said, then he.
Yes. She changed her story. Yeah.
Dropped a singular. So what she did is that she contradicted because she wasn't there with him in the car. It was only him that was trying to drop her. But see, she's lying. Then the question is, why is she lying? Why did she say that we dropped her off? We saw her to school. We dropped her close to school. And then because most people can't completely keep their story together, the fact that she dropped the pronoun was obvious that he was the one that was taking her. Here's another one. If you remember, he had made a statement about that when he was taking her to school, that she was sleeping. He made this big, huge thing about they were going to stop at McDonald's. They were going to do this. And he's just buying time. He's just buying time, right? We're going to do this. And then she didn't really want to. And then, she was dozing off and, she was snoozing. There was all kinds of words like that he used. And right then I said, no, I told the media, she's dead. She's dead in the car. he is driving around with a dead body in the car. Anytime person uses the word sleeping, there's two things I want you to look at. Anytime you ever hear a word that say sleeping, means they're dead. Number two, anytime they enter in anything to do with a phone, it has something to do with the event that occurred. So it could have been that Jenn saw the pictures. Who knows? Maybe she found out about the pictures. Maybe the child Madeline found out about the pictures. I don't know. But the phone is a big part of the occurrence. And sure enough, what did we find out? The phone had 35,000 pictures of her on there. So I said, okay, well, many times in their description of what occurred, he'd say, well, she left the phone at home, or she talked about the phone. I said, no, anytime a person enters the term a phone in any statement or occurrence, it has something to do with the event. We found that in statement analysis and police reports of guilty people. And anytime you see that, that should raise a red flag. What significance did that phone have to do? Why did they share that about the phone? There were all kinds of really hidden gems in what she had said and what he had said, that when you start to unravel it little by little, it starts to begin to tell the real story, and where they're omitting information, where they're fabricating information, and what they're saying that is slightly true but tends to incriminate them. So that's what I saw throughout this entire thing, is she's in denial. But not naive. She's not naive to it. She's in denial, but she's also in denial that wants to take any ownership of it. She's in denial about the money. She's in denial about anything being strange that's happening in that bedroom. She's in denial about the fact that he dropped her off, and she knows that that wasn't we, it was him. So you can keep going down the road so many different paths, and it all goes down to, I think that she knew something was going on there. There was something sexual going on. She knew it. That's my own hypothesis, not that's been proven in court. But I think that we're going to find out later on that somewhere along the line is going to come out, or she's going to be arrested, because I don't believe that the police are going to want to arrest her until they've really done a really good job and making sure that it's going to stick before they arrest her. But I think there will be an arrest at some point in time.
Oh,
Wow.
that makes me feel better.
Yeah,
I
you've
don't
been
think
having a hard time with this mom since the beginning, so I get that.
Yeah. I guess it's easy to think someone wanted to check out, but I think complicit.
But
Yeah,
if she was
she doesn't show that. First of all, let me say, you have to think about what expression would you have if your daughter is missing? Concern, worry, there could be some fear, right?
Yeah.
But when you see her underlying emotion is fear, you have to question, why are you seeing fear? Okay.
Right.
So that is something that you really have to pay attention to, because fear is not what you would consider being the root emotion. Concern, worry, panic. And when I'm looking at that, I'm looking at specific movements. Like, for example, I give you so that people understand kind of what's going on here. Can you see this?
No, she's all choppy.
It's
all we can
frozen.
really
You
get
cannot.
audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a couple things. First of all, I'm coding different movements in the face. It's called the facial action coding system. Eyebrow raises, smirks, lip tightening, lip presses, lip licking, a cheek raises, eyebrow wrinkling, inner eyebrow raises, all these things. There's actually 26 different codes in a face that tells you what emotion they're feeling. I never saw an emotion of sadness. And the emotion of sadness is where the inner brows come together and pinch and then create a horizontal line right above their eyebrows. I
Mhm.
don't believe she had Botox. She doesn't appear to have Botox, so that wouldn't have affected it.
Right.
Then that's one piece of it, the face. Now you're tying it into the body. What are fear expressions in their body movements, in their hand movements, in their eyes, in their voice? All of that you have to code. So because I've been trained in this, I immediately see them.
Mhm.
But you have to know what you're looking for in order to say, this is what I hypothesize and what I'm seeing in Jenn Soto. And as far as did she have anything to do with the murder? I don't know. That is still, a debate. I've not seen where an investigator has asked these very pointed questions to watch her responses, because I'm watching at what is her response when she's asked a very probative question and she's trying to worm out of it. She should be able to be very helpful, want to help the police officers rather than defend. She is in constant defensive mode. So why? Why would she defend this boyfriend who she hardly had sex with, because she said her sex life was horrible?
Mhm.
And I said,
Mhm.
well, that makes perfect sense, because, he's
Right.
messing with the daughter.
Right.
And those kind of guys have a soup du jour. He was a predator and
Right.
used Jenn Soto for a scapegoat to get to Madeline. So that's what predators do.
Yes.
So anyway, I hope that this has helped some of your viewers. If we had more video where we could do this more on the fly, which I'd be happy to do for all of you, because I think this is a really important case, mainly because not only do we want to know what happened, but this happens a lot. And with women, we don't necessarily see the signals. So how can you determine what those signals mean? And I think my caution is with women is, don't deny it. Take it as it is at face value, because it means something. And
Yeah.
what women tend to do when it comes to these men that are very convincing is that they will explain away, deny, protect at length because of whatever reason, fear of abandonment, fear of being lonely, you know, fear of rejection. There's a lot of things that play into it. Maybe fear that they may be harmed, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times people will protect others because they don't want them to be hurt. But I never saw in Jenn the concern of trying to find her daughter. Like, I need to find my daughter. There's no
Right.
franticness.
No
Right.
frantic
Think
ever.
I'm a mother of two girls,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Right.
My kid didn't show up for school. What would you do? I would be absolutely panicked.
Yes.
Yes.
She has fear. She might have fear because she's worried about what's happening, but there's also times in that video when she was at the police department where she was almost laughing.
Mhm. Yes.
But
Yes.
sometimes people will laugh when they're under a lot of stress. Like someone might laugh when they're at a funeral just to let the, extremeness out of it.
Mhm.
But the reason why she's being scrutinized is because her behavior is so not typical of what we would have thought of as a mother of a missing child. And that's the bottom line. And that's what that jury is going to do. That jury is going to look at that and going, something is really weird about her. And it's because there is.
Well, yeah, that's what I thought when I saw it, and Wendy did too. As soon as we saw him, like, there's something wrong here. This
There's
just
something
doesn't.
wrong.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we
Her
couldn't tell if she's
body
just
language,
over medicated.
position, the fear expression, the lack of illustrators, not willing to help, but waiting for the officers to ask her questions before she would give information. She's trying to
Yes.
figure out what you're going to say, they're going to say, so that she can come up with her answers. So all
Right.
of that stuff are all tactics.
She wasn't forthcoming at all. They had to do, everything
Hopefully
was
in
dragging.
July, when my book is out, that you gotta read it because I do a whole section and I cover a lot right here. I cover this whole case, the whole Soto case in there. How to spot a predator and all of her demeanor and everything, all the videos, I break it all down for you.
Oh,
But yeah, coming out in July. How to spot a liar in 7 seconds or less.
Nice. I can't wait.
oh, yeah, we'll definitely
Yeah.
get that. That'll help a lot in life.
So ask her. So before she leaves, can you just tell her before you leave? Thank you so much for
Okay,
all of this.
so
Before you leave,
yeah,
we
before
want to
you
know.
go,
We want to know if you can give us some of your favorite or most memorable Sarah Boone moments from the trial. Like what,
okay.
any kind of body language that she exhibited that really told you something interesting, or something that stands out to you at all.
Wendy wants to know if well, I'm curious too. Before you go back at the Sarah Boone trial. Is there anything that stood out to you that Sarah Boone did, or just some
Her body language
her body language?
that told you like tidbits of something,
The
like
problem
anything
that Sarah Boone had was the lack of emotion.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of the jurors saw too. They saw her as a cold, calculated, they saw her as the quintessential mean girl.
Yes.
And that was
Yeah.
a problem for Sarah Boone. And, I know it comes really right down to the simplest things. That jury is saying, they're looking at her and they're thinking, how could she have done that? Does she look guilty?
Does she even
Does
look
she
sorry?
show any emotion? And how many times have we listened to a trial and the jurors afterwards will say, they didn't show any emotion.
Right.
Didn't show the right kind of emotion. Something was
Mhm.
really off. Seemed like they were unsympathetic, uncaring. So when she talked about her boyfriend and the cackling, I think that was a big one. That she again, this defense is that she was in fear for her life, yet she was 100% in control of that environment.
Right.
Yes, she was.
Right? She
Mhm.
could have made a lot of other decisions. She could have, if she was fearful and wanted to let him out, she could have called 911, said, hey, he's in there, he's attacking me, but I want to
Yes.
call 911 and
That's
have him
what we
taken
said.
out so therefore she wouldn't be in danger.
Yeah, that's what
Or
we
other
said over and
decisions.
over.
But her lack of empathy, compassion, she looked like
Yeah.
the quintessential mean girl. She taunted him.
Yeah.
It was very, her overall demeanor seemed very unsympathetic and unapproachable and unlikable. And I think that theme was played throughout the trial because that's how people close to her described her.
Yes,
Yeah.
she was very
Yeah.
unlikable. Nobody liked her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Very unlikable person. Yes.
Nobody
Very
wanted to be around
unlikable
her. Even
person.
her neighbors didn't want to be around her.
I sat next to two of the investigators that were there for the defense.
Mhm.
And, to Sarah Boone's defense, I do believe that she was a domestic violence victim. I do believe that. I do believe that he was very cruel. And I don't know whether you knew this or not, but I'm forgetting what his name was, Sarah Boone's boyfriend who died. His brother
George Torres.
was in jail awaiting a trial for murder
Yes.
of, I think it was of his girlfriend or his wife. So on domestic violence. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
found out
because
later.
Owens wanted
Yeah.
to make
So
sure that
there's
the
a
media knew that.
history there. There's some sort of pattern within that family of a lot of domestic violence that's gone on there. So when you think about that environment, it's just like generational. There's this learned behavior
Right.
of how to treat women. So I think that they were correct that she was a domestic violence victim. I think the problem was that her cackling in such a sinister way was to her detriment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I analyzed that because, you know, again, I'm in Orlando, so it seems like everything happens here in Orlando.
I know.
Those have the best cases down there.
Yeah.
You know, these horrible things. But early on, when she called the 911 and she's outside and she's like, oh, I fell asleep. Oh, and it was what we call performance. Those are over-facing expressions because, and that's one of the things that I looked at was how long did the expressions last? And they're in a true felt emotion. There is a onset and offset of emotions. For example, surprise, you just don't go and you hold it there in that same expression more than 4 seconds at the longest.
Mhm.
So the fact that she was holding these emotions and performing, we saw this a lot in Amber Heard. So I did a lot of analysis of Amber Heard. The same thing is what we call over-facing, over-performing. So these animated, very demonstrative, very expressive expressions know that when you've trained in coding, you know what muscles move in the face for that specific emotion and how long it lasts on the face, and an onset, offset, and a duration and synchronization of those muscle movements. So this is a whole different level, guys, of body language analysis, and really is for people that are scans trainers, and there's very few of us in the world that do this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because I mean, that's a lot. I mean, it's very scientific when you get down to it. It's
Yeah.
very, it's very detailed and scientific, and
oh, I keep
you have
forgetting
to-
she
you're-
can't hear you. Yeah.
you have to understand anatomy, really, and the anatomy and physiology of just the human body and emotions and how that's all tied together. It's a lot. It's a lot. How impressive. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm so impressed with you. I am. But
Well, I think that once July comes out, I encourage you to read the book, not just because I want it to be a New York Times bestseller, which I do, and but it is really a manual that should be on every person's desk, because it really will help you to know how to read people in the world, because we are
Yes.
living in a world of lies, of deception, and it's everywhere. I mean,
Yes,
it just
absolutely.
is. You know,
You're absolutely right about
so
that.
I'm really happy that it's finally getting out there, and in the book coming out, I've got Chris Hansen. I think you've heard of him. He's interviewed for my
Yes.
book, and he's talking about predatorial, what
Mhm.
predators do. I've got Susan Hendricks, which I think you've heard of her. She was a HLN. She covered the Delphi case. Ann Burgess, who's got a documentary out
Mhm.
and written, lots of killer books, and she's learned what is it you look for in a serial killer. So I break that all down for you in this book. It is probably the quintessential best true crime book you've ever going to read in your life.
I
I'm
can't
excited
wait.
for it.
So it comes out in July, so that'll be great. Yeah, we'll definitely be on the lookout for
So
that.
anyway, I hate to say over and out sayonara, but I need to.
I understand. Are
thank
you going to
you.
go? Are you going to Stefan's trial?
Yes, this time I hope I don't get kicked out of the courtroom.
I didn't tell anybody it was you. Shh.
No, it was that's one thing you don't do, what I'm not going to do next time. Don't fart around with your phone when you're in the courtroom. And that was what I did. I was like sitting there like, okay, this is not really interesting. And I happened to be kind of going through my YouTube and I was trying to look for a certain piece that had to do with this case. Little did I know, I pushed the button on the volume, and then it went off, and then it went off again. And it goes, get out of here. And I'm like, oh my God, I've never even been kicked out of any group of my the judge was right. I mean, he had every reason to do that. So yeah, I'm going to go to the Stephen Stearns, and this time the phone will be left in the car.
Okay, just so you know, that night, everybody, a lot of people was asking me who got kicked out. I said I do know, but I'm not telling.
That's right. That would have just been your little secret.
Yep,
Yeah.
would have kept it a secret.
Well, they should have known I was the one that got up and walked out of the door. I was
Well,
like,
we all thought it was Randy,
I was
so
like, well, that judge, he's going to find me in contempt of court. So, but
Yeah,
anyway.
they assumed it was me, but look, Paul, he didn't film you walking out. Luckily.
Hey, Bob.
That was
Melissa.
definitely a courtroom blooper for
It w-
sure.
Yeah, it
Yes.
was. It was. So
All right. Well, thank
I'm
you so
probably
much.
gonna go too. So I'm sure I'll see you there, and
Okay.
I hope you come back sometime and we get our
All right.
issues settled.
Yeah, I have to figure that out.
You will.
All right, dear.
Easy. All
Thank you
right. Thank you
again.
so
Thank you so
much.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. You can close that out now, Randy. How adorable is she?
Wow. Yeah,
She's adorable.
I love her. I admire her. I guess Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, she knows a lot of stuff, which is
Um.
good. It would have been nice.
Okay. There it is.
It would have been nice if we could have watched the video at the same time, but I think we did okay for the technical
Yeah.
difficulties that we had. I think it was still okay. I think people,
Mhm.
because thankfully we had already shown this video to our crowd, and they, I think, had already, we've seen a lot of Jenn Soto videos, but
Yeah.
does anybody know why Melissa was upset? Melissa seemed really
I
upset,
mean,
and
the subject matter. I mean, she's because she said, I thought I could handle this, and I can't. And because maybe it's hearing that the pictures were being sold, and
that I wonder if there's any proof that backs it is that that's been released or not, or if she's just speculating on that, because I've heard nothing that shows that they know those 35,000 images have been sold. You know what I mean? Like, I've heard
Mhm.
nobody else say anything about that. So
I
if
have
that's
heard
something
that though once.
from who?
Somebody in our chat. I
Well, and
they
it does
said,
make sense. Okay, because my question was, why the hell do you need 35,000 images of anything? Why
yeah.
would you need that many? And it makes sense if he was selling them, that makes sense.
And it
Um,
makes sense that she didn't want to rip his face off when she found out what he'd been doing to her child. And the reason she didn't want to rip his face off, we've been saying medicated, over medicated. But she
she was in
knew,
on it.
yeah.
I don't know. I still struggle with that. I still think she's just very medicated and very checked out. I don't understand. Probably because I cannot fathom a mother who's okay with that, with basically,
No.
letting her daughter get assaulted by a scumbag and selling that for profit. I can't even wrap my head around a mother
I can't.
that would even allow that.
Same.
So it's so hard for my head to even go there. Obviously that is a possibility because, for the simple fact that we don't know. But she was given immunity for that one interview. And during that interview, she could have said, well, he was selling the pictures on the dark web. He was da 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 da. She could have said all this stuff. Why didn't she? A. B. He has also been talking to people. Why has he never mentioned that Jenn was involved? He could have thrown her under the bus long ago, and he would have. He's a slime ball.
I think if that's possibly coming, maybe that'll come in court. Maybe that's going to be part of his defense. Maybe that's why he's taking it to trial. And I love that she said, because I never thought it, of course I didn't think of this, but I will from now on. Because everybody, why? What happened? And I think she's right. Maybe she didn't just say, y'all go on, I need a good night's sleep. We've been believing that this whole time. But if you think about it, it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. Something happened that night in that room. And
Hey, buddy. Do you think they found out she was pregnant and they both killed her? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
I don't
know. I don't
know.
know.
I don't even know. Thank you. It's good to see you. Hey, Batty. I was on top chat, y'all. I'm sorry. Hey, Never Alone. I'm sorry, y'all.
Hey, Never Alone. Good to see you, honey.
I don't think, you know what? I think it had something. Look at me, because I'm, how I start picturing stuff in my mind, and I'm picturing it. He was mad because he didn't get to go to the party.
Right.
Maybe Madeline said, you didn't have to be there. I didn't want you there. maybe she said, I want things to stop. She's now 13. She's starting to realize everything that's been done to her.
We still
So
don't know
much.
if she was pregnant or not.
Yeah. Me too, Lavender. I think they were both involved. I don't think that she was involved about the murder with the murder. The only time that you see her show any emotion was when she would talk about the possibility of Maddie being gone.
But even like during that one point in the interview where she says something like she knew about or not that she knew about the pictures, but something like, well, the pictures, were bad enough. I thought, okay, maybe he just needs a lawyer and he needs like she said about defending him. But it wasn't like the idea of the pictures even threw her. She didn't even blink. It was like it wasn't a surprise. And if you told me that my significant other had 35,000 pictures or more of my child in abuse situations, etc., and God only knows how many other kids, if you told me that, I would be vomiting. Like there was you don't have no reaction to that. You just don't. And I certainly wouldn't have the reaction of, oh damn, he needs a lawyer. That wouldn't be my reaction either.
Right.
It would be, put me in a room with that bastard. I'm going to kill him myself. Save you all the trouble.
Hey, Never Alone. Jealousy. Could have been, he would not, they wouldn't even, I don't know oh gosh. So the fact, I think we just got to learn such a lesson. I don't know. I really like what she does.
I like what she does too, but it's important to remember it is still speculation. Proof is still proof. I think it is fascinating. It's fascinating. Absolutely. What she does, definitely consider her an expert in the field. I absolutely do. I'm not saying any of that isn't true, and I'm not taking any of that away. I'm just also cautioning myself and others that that's not evidence and it's not proof. It is still speculation at the end of the day.
Yes. As in the opening says, this is just the opinions, just opinions. So.
Right. These are opinions. And I mean, and this was her opinion, and it's an expert opinion, sure, but it's not evidence and it's not proof. But it still is very fascinating, for sure. Very, very fascinating.
And I do wish the video I know she kept freezing up. I don't know why that I couldn't think of anything else other than a Google Meet.
The audio was pretty good. Her video was very frozen and choppy for the 95% of the time, honestly. It was like pretty much the whole time.
It was freezing for me too, even though I was in the Google Meet with her. It was freezing for me.
But the audio was fine. We could hear her for the most part. I thought it was fine. Donna E, that was her. Donna E said that's how they were making a living, selling all that nasty stuff. That's still speculation. Nobody has shown that that's actually true. But it certainly could be true. We just don't know for sure yet. But it's definitely interesting and I would love to get that book when it comes out in July. Because, How to Spot a Liar in 7 Seconds. I mean, I think that's a pretty cool title anyway. And I think, understanding, I'm always been very fascinated with
karma.
We've talked about this many times. I've studied human behavior for years, especially, the function of human behavior. Why do people do the things they do? And so I've always been very fascinated by that. And I love, the idea of adding that skill as well. Understanding, like I said earlier, the anatomy, what your eyebrows do and what that means. How long is a natural frown going to last versus a fake frown that you're doing for performance? That's all very cool stuff.
Yeah. I never thought about that. And then, okay. I was sitting there thinking, I wonder if I'm showing signs of anything.
I mean, not to me, you weren't. You seem fine to me. But it does make it different when, like, someone like me who doesn't come on camera, you're just looking at my profile picture. That's not going to tell you anything. So
Right.
you really have to, we're kind of limited by what we're allowed to see of people. But it is, it is fascinating. It's very fascinating. I would love to get her take on Jose Ibarra, the new guy that we're talking about over on my channel. The Laken Riley, I think his last name. I forget her last name.
Blake and Riley.
Yeah.
I would too, but there was no way to fit that in. To say, hey, I know you can't see the screen.
No, of course not. I'm
Okay.
just saying, like, maybe
Yeah.
another time it'd be cool to have her, because I'd love to get her take on his body language. His body language to me is so bizarre as well. The way he just sits there and stares like he almost doesn't know what's happening even. It's weird.
Susan Smith was denied parole. Okay, good.
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 There's a verdict on the Lake and Riley case already?
So there was no defense?
Did he not even put on a defense?
Look.
Damn, we didn't even get to the testimony.
I told you the opening statement would
I know, but that's not evidence.
I know.
The opening statement is just a statement.
Well, the parole hearing definitely got it right.
They're live with the trial day 4.
Well, the pinned comment on Court TV is coming up, victim impact statements.
Yeah, so I'm assuming he was found guilty.
Hey, Florida Gray.
I would love to hear what the judge had to say.
Well, we can. Well, I want to do that. We can bop over to your channel and watch it, or we can watch it tomorrow. It's up to you.
What do you guys want to do? You want to go over to my channel and watch it all and get caught up? Or you want to do it tomorrow? I know, Batty. I agree.
Oh, that's right. The judge gave the verdict.
Yeah, it's the judge. It wasn't a jury at all.
Today.
Do they all want to do it today?
Well, we only have one vote so far.
Okay.
Today. We got 2 for today.
All right. Let me go set it up. We'll go over to my channel right now.
Thank y'all for showing up. Oh, wait. Hold on. Let me. Ted's mom, thank you so much for gifting a membership. I welcome new member. I didn't say who got it. Debbie Doll, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate that. And Melissa, I think I also thanked her though when it happened. But I appreciate y'all and see y'all over at Wendy's.
All right, I'm gonna set it up right now, you guys.
All right. Bye y'all.
All right, I'll see you over there. Bye.